All right, today we're going to take a journey back in time, right into the heart of the American Revolution. And our guide? Well, it's not some stuffy historian. It's a man who actually lived through it all, and in 1794 decided to write down his story. This is where it all begins. You see, this isn't coming from a dry history book. It's the voice of a grandfather speaking directly to his family. We're about to hear the story of John Kemp, a man whose entire life was shaped by conflict and, more importantly, by conviction. And what makes his story so fascinating is that it's a perspective we just don't hear very often. We always learn about the patriots, right? The heroes who fought for independence. But what about the other side? What about the people who chose to stay loyal to the king? Well, John Kemp was one of them. To really get a handle on the incredible choice he made, we first have to understand the life he built. You have to see what he had, to understand what he was willing to lose. And his story doesn't start with war. It starts with peace, along the Mohawk River in colonial New York. So, John Kemp, he was originally an Englishman. He came over to the colonies as a soldier fighting in the French and Indian Wars. But after the fighting was done, he decided to stay. He settled down in a town called Schenectady, and that's where he met and married Anna van Voorst, a respected Dutch widow. This was it, the start of his new American life. And what's really striking when you look at this timeline is just how stable and normal everything was. For more than 15 years, John and Anna just focused on building a family. They raised her son Francis as their own, and then had 5 more kids together: Joseph, James, Rachel, John, and little Nancy. So by the time they packed up and moved to Boston, you can just picture it, a solid, established family of 8. They're working the land, going to church, and just living what they considered a good life. And in their minds, their identity was crystal clear. They were loyal subjects of King George III. And then, boom, everything changed. The storm clouds that had been gathering finally burst, and the American Revolution just shattered their peaceful world. For John Kemp, and thousands of people just like him, it was a moment that forced an absolutely impossible choice. You have to understand, this wasn't some abstract political debate happening miles away. No, this was a crisis that was tearing communities apart. We're talking neighbor turning against neighbor, even brother against brother. The pressure to pick a side, it was immense. And no matter what you chose, there were going to be huge consequences. So you've got these 2 paths, right? On one side, you've got the patriots, and they're talking all about liberty and independence from a tyrant king. But for loyalists, for guys like John, the issue was simpler, and it was way more personal. For them, it was about a sacred promise they had made. And listen to what he told his grandkids. This really gets to the heart of it all. For him, this decision wasn't really about politics. It was about personal honor. He had sworn an oath of loyalty to his king, and in his mind, that bond, well, it was unbreakable. But sticking to that conviction, well, it came with a price tag you can barely imagine. Choosing loyalty meant he was about to lose everything he had spent his entire adult life building. Okay, just stop and think about this for a second. 57 years old. That's an age when most men are thinking about slowing down, maybe retiring. Not John Kemp. He enlists to go fight for his king all over again. And get this, his enlistment record noted he was only 5 feet 5 inches tall. Not a big guy physically, but man, did he stand tall for what he believed in. So when the war ends and the Patriots win, that's it. It's over. There's no going home for the Loyalists. Their houses, their farms, their whole communities, all gone. Their land was confiscated, and in the new United States of America, they were branded as traitors. Imagine that. Everything you had worked for 25 years, just gone. But the story doesn't end there. The king, back in Britain, he didn't forget about them. The people who had sacrificed everything for the crown were given the special honorary title United Empire Loyalist. And with that title came a grant of free land to start over in what would one day become Canada. So yeah, they were refugees, but they weren't completely abandoned. And that's exactly what the Kemps did. John, along with his sons Joseph and James, who had also fought for the king, joined this massive exodus heading north. They had to leave behind the only home they'd ever really known to face the vast, untamed Canadian wilderness. But this story isn't just one of loss, it's also this incredible story of resilience. Here's John Kemp, at an age when most men are enjoying their grandchildren, and he has to build a completely new life from nothing in a place called Fredericksburg, Upper Canada. And I mean, the challenges were just unbelievable. You're talking about clearing dense forests by hand, building your own log cabin from scratch, and just trying to survive those absolutely brutal Canadian winters. All they had were some basic government supplies and the help of their fellow loyalists. And remember, John's doing all of this in his 60s. But, the toughest thing he had to face, it wasn't the wilderness. It wasn't the backbreaking labor. In 1789, his wife Anna, the woman he called his tower of strength, passed away. After everything they had been through, surviving a war, starting over in a new country, he lost the woman who had been by his side for 3 decades. And yet, somehow, out of all that trial and tragedy, he managed to pull together this powerful, timeless wisdom for his family. These 5 lessons about integrity, about partnership, about how family is everything, about the resilience to start over, and about good old-fashioned hard work. This was the legacy he wanted to leave behind. You see, he never saw himself as a victim. He was actually proud of the choice he had made and the new identity he had forged. He basically told his descendants, when people ask who you are, you tell them, with your head held high, that you come from John and Anna Kemp, United Empire Loyalists. And then, just a year after sitting down and sharing this incredible life story with his grandchildren, John Kemp passed away. He was laid to rest right there, next to Anna, the woman who had shared every single step of his remarkable journey. When you hear a story like John Kemp's, it really leaves you with a profound question, one that echoes right down to today. For him, his unbreakable principle was his oath. His story challenges all of us to look at our own lives and ask, what is our unbreakable bond? What do we stand for, no matter what it costs?